Shubha Sandhya. It was a very good discussion. And this is exactly what I am looking for in the upcoming webinar. What questions to ask at what time? The conscious, subconscious, and the universal realm. And one should understand at this moment of time, is the person completely aware, even with levels also? Of course, we are very well versed with levels of experience and everything. But at that level too, finer understanding is what question to ask. Like, for example, now Paras sir asked about, can we ask at this level what the tears are saying? And if the person is completely conscious and drenched in emotion, it's a big blunder to ask what the tears will say. Because emotions are now at this moment of time overpowering delusion. So the nectar at that level is emotional nectar. The sweetness is of emotion. You will not get the recipe of the delusion at all. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? इतना वो भावनाओं में घुस गई है कि वो सोच समझ के दायरे में जाना भी उसको पॉसिबल नहीं है. And at that point of time, if we are going to ask something about what are these tears going to say, it is not, why I'm telling you this is because 10-15 years back I would do the same mistake to personify, because that is the time I just started to personify. But I did not know when to personify, when to take that forward. So apart from the levels of experience, it is also important to know how much is that person actually soaked. If the person is weeping and sobbing also, and you are going to ask what are the tears saying, it will not even register. Because the impact is on that situation which has made that emotional turmoil. The impact is there. And for the delusion to come up, it has to first pass through that and then get into that level. So likewise, in this upcoming webinar, what we are trying to understand and do is at conscious what to ask and what not to ask. One. Second, even what to ask, how to frame it. I know what to ask. Now, what was the tussle? The fear and something about somewhat tension, right? So the tussle was this: fear पूछना है, tussle पूछना है, in this thing tension पूछना है. But what are we trying to look into the entire conversation? Where is it that has made the entire difference? Death, 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 death. Fair enough. Her becoming cold, trembling, trembling, trembling. Fair enough. No problem. The idea should now, we should understand what is the story about. This death has impacted me and other deaths have not. Ultimately, it is death. If it is the common platform, leave the platform. What is above the platform? So many I have seen has not caused any problem. This one has caused the problem. This is above the death that is standing. This death has caused the problem, but these deaths have not caused the problem at all for me. So why are we interested on the platform? See the character standing on the platform. This is what I will call it as. The seer behind the scene is death. And the seer is both the same person. Na? I've seen so many deaths, the same person. This death also the same person. So if the person is same, why should there be a difference at the level of impact. Is it death in general? This is what I'm going to ask myself. However, sub-job death in general, it is causing me a problem. Understandable. But when she clearly mentioned that these many deaths, I mean, so many deaths I have seen, but it is okay. Then the character is the same. Death instead, the situation is the same. What is the difference? The difference is in the perception between these deaths and this death. Are you seeing? So how to go one step below it to see? And that is what I actually am going to take you all there to understand in every conversation, what is it that I have to go beyond that to see something that I cannot understand. This is what I cannot understand. However, the person is the same, the topic is the same, the subject is the same, but still the perception is different. This is one of the things that I would like to see how it is and show it to her how it is. Along with this, how to be flexible at the level of conscious. When the person is conscious, don't be rigid. Thoda idhar, thoda udhar, thoda idhar, thoda udhar, because the person is conscious. If you are trying to be rigid, they will shut their doors. Always remember, at the level of conscious, never try to be rigid in your questioning. Nahi, tell me, oh, by rigid, what I mean to say is, at a level when the person is conscious, your question that is there, see that you don't be so stringently persistent. Because ego is right up at the level of conscious. And when the ego is right up, clear and strong, your persistently being rigid about certain questions might simply offend and block the path. So at the initial phases, how do we need to be flexible? And once they get into the experiential level, that time you can stay rigid, because that's where the path is now clear and you have to move on that path itself. So this is what we are going to be discussing in that particular webinar. Another important aspect, the type of framing in relation to the past tense, present tense, and future tense. Because people might talk something about the past tense. Now, in this case also, if you go to see, I think the incident was about the past tense, right? And there is a tinge of future tense when she says about my child, right? So we see these two things happening at the same time. Remember, at such situations, here it was a clear understanding that there are so many deaths that you have seen and this one was the one impacted. So it was clear. But if it was about all the deaths, and if it has to be in the past tense for that matter, the conversation, how to frame the questions pertaining to that past tense. And many a time we make this mistake. Patient is in the past, we are asking about the now. Patient is in the future, we are asking about the past. And that tense also makes a huge difference as far as getting the right impact. भूतकाल, भविष्यकाल, वर्तमान काल, ये किस काल में है वो सही समय पे सही काल के साथ अगर उस प्रश्न को पूछा जाए तो डायरेक्टली penetrate hota andar, straight away touches the person. That is what another thing that we are going to see how to understand. Another important aspect that we will be seeing in this upcoming webinar about the questions understanding situations, how to see the situation, and pertaining to the situation, how much importance should we give to the situation? Is there a clear-cut ailments from? If there is a clear-cut ailments from that so and so, my father met with an accident 10 years ago and he did not survive in that accident, and since then my problem started. This is a clear-cut understanding from the person. Here, what way to frame the questions? Because Kent has given this beautiful thing, ailments from. And if you see the Kent repertory, there are so many rubrics which we have got ailments from. So it gives us a classical understanding how to probe at that situation when there is some sort of origin of the complaint. Right? So it is not only PQRS, it is also origin, from where it has originated, to give you this peculiar understanding how an individual has perceived that situation from where it originated. Right? In dreams, what way to ask the questions? So stepwise, we will take 1, 1, 1, 1 and see how many questions, as many questions as you can think, pour in. No problem. Because that's how we will really understand what is the idea behind this questioning. So I just thought of giving this particular webinar by giving the text of the patient. Question is what we are going to ask. Are you getting? Because what is very important is people show cases and cases and cases and cases. All looks fascinating on the screen. But what is the main oil that is needed for that vehicle to move is the question. What gives mileage to the case is this questioning. And if that is proper, our average in cases will be really good. So it is simply adding salt to the food. No matter what masala you put, if the salt is not proper, the taste is not there. Similarly, whatever the patient might say, if our questions are not proper, the patient will go somewhere and we are going somewhere else only. Right? So I hope that most, I don't know how many are there, but those who are not there, please join in for this webinar, because it's one of beautiful exercise. The first time I think we are doing it, or anybody, I've never heard this type of webinar being done before, where we are showing the patient's format, question pucho, kya hai? All crazy stuff of webinar we're having now. So that the ultimate aim is to drill. Previously, we would have the whole case history and then debate. Now we'll have the patient's verbatim and debate on the questions. So we are polishing from both sides. Till now, as a doctor, we were seeing what patient is saying, we will debate on that. Now onward, we'll debate about what we are asking as a doctor, we'll debate on the doctor's issues. Right? So I think it will be a real treat to see how this thing works and how this actually goes, because that is where most of our problem lies. Right? And once we really master this particular art of questioning, you see how it will differ in our entire understanding. Now itself, what I'm seeing, the level of each one has drastically changed. At least now we are able to recognize and think, okay, fine polishing is needed, that will happen. But at least we are knowing and pinpoint, we are close by. In short, we are getting the address, pin code is left, wo mil jayega, aaj na kal to mil jayega. Right? It's a real wonderful thing, because this is only because of sheer hard work and religiously following it up. Karna hai, karna hai. And that's what is the challenge for 2022. By December, all of us should be polished. That's the end.